Nobody likes to disappoint others. It's not fun, but it's a reality for a lot of us. And the problem is that the fear of disappointing others can silence us. And that is what we're going to talk about today. How can you not allow the fear of disappointing others to silence you? Now, the fear of disappointing others has silenced me many times. However, there are ways that you can overcome this. There are ways to make sure that fear of disappointing others is not going to come in the way of you advocating for your ideas, for yourself, for what you believe in. And I'm going to share with you a couple of tips on how to do that today. Because the reality is, if you are the kind of person that is scared of disappointing others, it means you're human. It means you care. It means you're a decent human being. It means you're not a psychopath. Okay, it's a good thing. But we need to handle that. We need to be able to deal with that and not let it come in the way of our dreams and of living our authentic life, because that's when it becomes a problem. So we're going to talk about why the fear of disappointing others can silence you, where that fear comes from so you can become aware of it, and 4 practical ways to find the courage to speak up even if you experience the fear of disappointing others, because we can't always control it. But if you know what to do in the moment to get past it and speak up anyways, then over time, that fear of disappointing others is going to diminish, because you're going to realize that it's not the thing that you imagine it to be, that you're not actually disappointing people by speaking up, by speaking your truth, by saying what you want, by asking for things. I got into the MBA of my dreams. So excited, so happy. I had worked so hard, years, to get into this program, but I had not been able to secure the funding to pay for it. And so my last resort was my employer. But I didn't feel like I was worthy of asking my employer, because I thought I was a terrible employee. I thought I did not deserve to have my employer sponsor my MBA because of how bad of an employee I was. I felt like I was always just struggling to get things done. I wasn't able to fulfill the expectations that my manager had of me. I just couldn't, no matter how much I worked, I just couldn't do it. So I really didn't want to ask him, because I knew that if I asked him, he would be disappointed. He was going to think, what? You can hardly perform here. You can't even do your job. And now you're asking me to finance your MBA, to leave the company and go study? That's ridiculous. Now, this was getting in the way of me actually asking him. Every day I wanted to ask him for his support, at least to see if that was a possibility to get that funding from the company. But I didn't have the courage, because every single day that little voice inside me said, you're going to disappoint him. And I didn't want to do that, because I liked my manager. He was a great guy. I looked up to him. And so every night I would plan again, and I would not have the courage to do it. I would stay late, because I decided that I would do this right before he left the office, which was around 8 p.m. When no one else was in the office, I said, that's it. So for a whole month, while I was planning on telling him, I would stay until 8 p.m. so I could intercept him on his way out when he was more chill, right? Not so busy with crazy day problems and activities. And I still couldn't do it for a whole month. At the end of that month, I was able to finally ask him. And I was still scared of disappointing him. At no point did my fear of disappointing him go down. But my courage went up, and here's what happened. I started to really put my mindset on the dream, the goal, this MBA, and what it was going to do for me, and how much I wanted this, my desire, and how it was going to catapult my career and help me do more and be more and contribute more. And I started to daydream about what I wanted. And the more I wanted that thing, the more I got hungry for that thing, the more courage I came, because it came to a point where the fear of disappointing my employer was smaller than the fear of disappointing myself. with an opportunity that I was going to lose because I didn't speak up. And so I did. I asked, and after I asked, I realized that I wasn't a bad employee after all. I was an excellent employee in his eyes. So is the fear of disappointing others getting in the way of you speaking up, of you asking for things? When it came to time, another employer, for me to ask to take off my vacation days, this was a drama that I always had. I was entitled to certain numbers of vacation days, like all of us are usually. I always felt like if I asked to take my vacation days off, I would be seen as not being committed enough to the work, to the deliverables, to the sensitivities of the work. And so in order to address this and to be able to feel like I could ask my manager for my days off, for my vacations that I was entitled to, I had this plan. I always had this plan. I thought, this is what I need to do so I don't disappoint him. I need to outperform and out-deliver when I do something exceptional that he's really happy with me. Then I'll ask to schedule my vacation days. But only when I over-deliver, so then it balances off the disappointment he's going to have when I ask to use my vacation days. I'm explaining to you here how I used to think because I'm sure a lot of you have something like this going on in your head. But guess what? I never felt like I performed to a level where I was over-delivering and my boss was extremely happy with me so that I could ask for the vacation days. So I would never ask for my vacation days. And that was a problem because, again, I was scared of disappointing my manager. That time never arrived because I avoided that conversation. So how did I overcome this and be able to speak up? It's not that I reduced my fear of disappointing others or my manager when asking to use my vacation, but I became smart about how to deal with it. Here's what I did. At the beginning of each year, I laid out to my manager my vacation plans. Before things got crazy, before work stacked up, I said, okay, these are the times, these are the days, the weeks that I intend to travel, and I'm going to buy my tickets. Are you okay with that? Many months ahead. And then 30 days ahead of those vacation days that had already been communicated, I would remind my manager, hey, by the way, I know we got this big project going on, but in 30 days, I'm going to take 2 weeks off, as we had talked about. 1 week ahead. We were in the middle of some crazy work. Oh my gosh, the deadlines were crazy. I would remind my manager, hey, by the way, in 1 week, I am leaving to Brazil because my family's in Brazil and I'm taking 2-3 weeks off as planned. It takes a while to get there. Usually it's 2 weeks. And then 2 days ahead, I would remind him. And then 1 day ahead, I would remind him. Every time I reminded him, he had forgotten. And we needed to put a plan in place because I was not going to be there. And we were in the middle of something big. But because I managed the expectations, I over-communicated at every point in time. I kept reminding him of this thing that was scary for me even to talk about, but I kept saying it more, very often, than that actually helped. And he never got upset with me. In fact, it actually changed his perception of me because I was making sure that he was aware of what was going on and also helping to make plans for when I was away. That's something that you can do as well in a situation like that. Let me give you another example. A big part of my job right now is to call people in my network and ask for introductions. Or another big part of my job right now is to cold call people who have no idea who I am and ask them for their time to show them my offer. Now, every single cell in my body says, no, don't do it. Don't do it. You're disappointing everybody. You're irritating everybody. They will never tolerate you again. But does that stop me? No, I have to do it. Even though I'm scared, I'm constantly scared of disappointing others. But here's the beauty. If you're able to speak up despite the fear of disappointing others in that situation, it will start to remove that fear because you will start to notice that people are not disappointed. You will start to notice that people welcome your calls. They welcome your requests. They welcome you and what you have to say, even if it's going to benefit you. And that's okay. You start to see that, you know what? I'm actually not disappointing them. In fact, our relationship has actually benefited from me speaking up. And that's when things start to shift in your mind. But the first thing you need to do is to be able to speak your mind despite that feeling of disappointing others, so that you can enter the territory of reality and get some real-time feedback on how people respond to that. Has the fear of disappointing others ever reduced your voice, silenced you? Listen, it's okay to fear disappointing others. It means you care, but it's not okay to allow that fear to get in the way of advocating for yourself, speaking up for what you believe in. What causes us to not speak up? Because of the fear of disappointment. What makes us feel this fear of disappointment in the first place? There's so many things, but before we go there, what is it that it does? It silences us, especially from these things, from asking for things that can benefit you. When we fear disappointing others, we don't ask for recommendation letters. We don't ask for help. We don't ask for mentorship. We don't ask for support. We don't ask for introductions. When we fear disappointing others, we don't ask for stretch assignments, for opportunities at work, for training, for resources. When we fear disappointing others, we don't ask for feedback, because what are they going to say? When we fear disappointing others, we don't express concerns, because it's going to upset people. When we fear disappointing others, we don't set boundaries, because they're not going to like it. When we fear disappointing others, we don't share ideas and we don't negotiate our pay, because, oh my gosh, they're going to think I'm a selfish person, not humble, crazy, self-centered. Where does this fear of disappointing others come from? It comes from a desire of approval. We all want to belong. We all want to be accepted by others, approved, and we fear shaking that up. The second thing is imposter syndrome and low self-worth. We don't believe we deserve it. And so we're going to disappoint others. We also fear conflict, and that makes us not really want to go there, because it's going to disappoint others. We're creating conflict. At least that in our head, that's what we think. We also don't want to cause problems or inconvenience other people, disturb them, be in their way, take up their time, because that could disappoint them. We sometimes are so perfectionist that we think that if we ask for something and we fail, it's deemed unacceptable. If we ask for an opportunity and we fail, it's going to disappoint others. If we ask for their mentorship, and here's a big one for me, and you might have this one too, is the fear of disappointing others when I ask for advice, because I'm not going to be able to implement the advice, because it's happened before. Here's another thing. When in the past you felt like you disappointed others because you weren't able, in my case, to apply the advice that I received. But here's the problem. When you do not actually circle back with people, ask them what their perception was on something that you did or didn't do, you don't really know if you disappointed them or not. They might not even remember. The fear of disappointing others can come from feeling like you're not enough, or you're not going to meet other people's expectations. So those are all reasons why we fear disappointing others. And it's normal, it's human, it means you're a good person. But it needs to be dealt with so that it doesn't silence you. Before I get to the solutions, I invite you to join the newsletter, the Assertive Way newsletter, where you'll get tips just like this in order to elevate your voice, amplify your voice, speak up, be more assertive, advocate for yourself, for your ideas, and for others, and for what you believe in. And do so in a way that's respectful and effective. Go to assertiveway.com/newsletter and sign up right now. You'll get these free newsletter in your inbox, plus special other things that I only give to my newsletter subscribers. That's assertiveway.com/newsletter. Okay, so how can you deal with this sensation of disappointing others and not let it get in the way of speaking up, of expressing yourself, of saying what you need to say? The first thing is what my first example was about, which is spending more mental time and emotional time on what you're missing out on if you don't speak up. I want you to dream about what it is that you want. What are you looking for? Until you get to the point where the fear of disappointing others is smaller than the fear of disappointing yourself. Do that, and it's going to help you overcome that issue and be able to speak up despite the fear of disappointing others. Number 2 thing that you can do to overcome the fear of disappointing others and still speak up is get the reality. Do a reality check, right? Look for real insights on how people perceive you. Sometimes we feel like we're not enough, we're not doing enough, we don't deserve. People might be more impressed with you than you think. All you need to do is ask them, hey, how am I doing here? What do you think I can do better? How do I compare with others? Ask those questions. They're scary, but they're going to give you a reality check of where you really are in people's perception. And that's going to give you the confidence to go and ask for things, go and express things, even if you feel you might disappoint them, because now you have a little bit of credit. The third thing that you can do to overcome the fear of disappointing others is, if it makes you more comfortable when you make that request, when you express that thing, when you say, hey, I would like this opportunity, could you help me with this? Could you help mentor me? Give people an easy out. Make it easy for them to say no. This is only if it's going to help you feel more comfortable asking for those things. So one of the things you can do is say, hey, you make your request, hey, would you be open to writing a recommendation letter for me or make this introduction? And I'm completely okay if you'd rather not at this time. You're giving people an easy out for them to say, oh, you know what? Actually, I'm not comfortable right now. I'd rather not. Yeah, okay, great. But I can assure you, most people are not going to say that. But at least it makes you feel better about making that request when you fear you're going to disappoint others. And the last thing that you can do is learn assertive communication. Assertive communication will show you exactly how to make those requests, how to set those boundaries, how to share those ideas, how to express your concerns in a way that's very balanced, that's very respectful, that's very influential, that's very appropriate, that's very diplomatic, that's non-demanding at all, and that focuses on relationship building in a way that sounds more like an invitation than anything else. And when something is an invitation, people can say no. Therefore, you'll feel more comfortable asking for things, expressing things from your perspective, because you'll know, you'll have the technique on how to do it in the most elegant possible way. So those are the 4 tips for you. So number 1, focus more on what you're going to achieve, what you're going to get if you speak up in that situation, so that the fear of disappointing others is smaller than the fear of disappointing yourself. Try to get some real insight, ask for feedback to understand what people really think about you so that can boost your confidence so that you can ask for what you want despite feeling like you might disappoint others. Add something to your statement, to your request, or to your comment. Hey, I totally understand if you'd rather not at this time, to give people an easy out. And learn assertive communication so that you can make those requests, express those ideas, concerns, boundaries in a very elegant, diplomatic way that works and that's focused on relationship building. And once again, make sure you join the newsletter. That's at assertiveway.com/newsletter to get tips on how to speak up, how to be assertive, how to overcome these fears of speaking up, and find the confidence in your voice so that you can use it to move towards your dreams and your goals and ambitions. Once again, thank you for joining me today. If you enjoyed this, please do share with someone that you feel would derive some value from this material. And I will see you the next time. Bye for now.